Hi, friends. How are you? This is Charles, your friend over here. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you. How does my shirt look? Pole, don't mind me. It's an evening. But really, why I'm coming through to you this evening is just to share with someone with about something which was in my heart, and I hope really to bless someone. In an event where people are going through challenges, people are losing jobs. There's a lot of apprehensiveness in the country, demonstrations, businesses collapsing, and saying a lot of despair. People are they're seeing like everything looks bleak. There's a lot of giving up. There's a lot of throwing in the towel. There's a lot of discouragement, a lot of negative energy. Probably this video is not for everyone, but probably to help someone, it will encourage somebody. um, I want to cite like three or four stories in the Bible, and it's something which God was ministering to me, and it really blessed me as a person, and I know it may bless someone. You remember the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I know you know the stories about the Hebrew boys who had been taken captive to Babylon, and then king had raised them up. Like they were wise men in the kingdom, but again, the king wanted them to worship a golden image, King Nebuchadnezzar, but they didn't buy that story. They told him, King, we cannot worship you. We worship the living God, because they could not compromise their faith, you see. Probably God allowed them to be pushed to the wall to that level. It was a matter of life and death because fire was there, and they even said it. If God doesn't save us, we'll die. We will not worship you. Sometimes in life, God can allow a dire situation in your life to go that deep, to that low, a desperate moment for God to show up. So probably if God had given them a comfortable life, we will not be reading the beautiful story of the fourth man in the fire. What am I saying? Sometimes we pass through a lot of things, maybe a sickness of a loved one, maybe lack of a job. But I know you can relate. I don't need to give an example, but in that lowest, in that weakness, God shows himself strong. He's right there, right where you are. It's sorry, my light I think is disturbing you. He's right there where you are. The fourth man was just for his glory. You have to go to the rock bottom for God to show himself strong. I'll quote another example. Remember the revelation of John? The book of Revelation was written by a man of God called John. And John didn't write it in a Serena hotel, in a five-star hotel. John was right in the middle of tribulation in a highland called Patmos. And there we read about the tribulation. John was even, I think, hanged upside down. He was being tortured with hot oil or something. He was being burned. And in the tribulation, when he was being persecuted, he saw open heaven, and the Lord visited him, and something beautiful, the book of Revelation and the visions and everything were born out of it. I'm not sure. Probably there was no Patmos. Probably there would be no revelation. But God does his own way. Probably he will still write his revelation elsewhere. But it's a true example that even in his lowest, even in his tribulation and his hardest time, he saw God. Something was born, a book of Revelation, and also God speaking to him. I will jump to the story of Stephen. That apostle Stephen in the book of Acts, especially chapter 6, 7, when the Sanhedrin and the teachers of the law, they conspired and said that he was teaching people against the will of God. They stoned him. You know what Stephen did? It's a Sunday school story we read every time. When he was giving up his spirit, he looked up and he saw open heaven. And he told God, receive my spirit. Don't take this sin to them. Like, even in the midst of tribulations, he could sense God, he could see God, he could experience power. Let's talk about Elijah. When Elijah killed the prophets, the Jezebel was following her. The prophets of Baal and everything. Jezebel was following him, sorry, and he wanted to kill him. And he was giving up. He told God, I want to die, and he ran away. And when he was sleeping, he just went there somewhere to die. But the angel of the Lord woke him up and told him, wake up and eat, for the journey is long. And we are told even ravens provided food for him while he was in the wilderness. God had kept him safe. He had to come to his bottom low for God really to show up and to be there with him. It was not meant for harm. There are so many stories, bros. There is so many things. Daniel, when he also refused to worship the gods of Belshazzar. Belshazzar was the son of Nebuchadnezzar, the same setup of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When he refused to bow down and worship the gods of the king having signed a decree to probably have whoever doesn't worship the image killed, Daniel was put in the pit of lion, the den of lion, and the king could not sleep because basically, like, quotes in quotes, was Daniel's friends, because he could not even go against his decree. So in the morning he said, Daniel, did your God save you? And for sure, Daniel answered and said, the Lord sent an angel who shut the lion's mouth. They didn't harm me. God really, we read a very, it beats logic, it beats nature. Lions out there have tired people. Lions out there, the king of the jungle. They could not even touch Daniel. What am I saying? There had to be a story of Den of Lions, God rescuing Daniel, for us to know that God did it. If everything was fine, if Daniel didn't go these tribulations, we probably would not even know whether there is a story about God rescuing him. So these examples I'm giving you, and there are so many of them in the Bible. There are so many situations where needed a dire intervention of God, and God allowed them to go through that for His glory to be done. So I'm encouraging someone tonight, or this whatever morning time, depending on where you are. You might be going through a lot of challenges. Don't throw in the towel. God is right there where you are. This thing is not meant to take you down. It's that God's power, God's ability can be shown so strong to you. So it's an encouragement to someone. You don't know what you want to feed your kids with. You don't know what you want to do. I mean, it's a tough, difficult moment. Personally, this thing was ministering to me, and I know it will encourage someone. Right in the thickness of things, God is going to show up. He's going to help you out. This thing is not meant to take you down. It's just there so that God's mighty power, God's ability can basically be displayed, Yeah, I don't know who's going to be up to this encouragement, but the den of lion was not meant to take Daniel down. It was just so that God can really come for his rescue. The fourth man in the fire, if the story wasn't there, we wouldn't know about it. So whatever you're going through as a person, as a family, in your workplace, whatever it is, probably God is allowing it to happen so that He can show Himself strong. So stay put, look up to heaven, tell God, help me, give me the grace to go through this. But it will be over and God will be glorified in this. Why don't you have yourself a lovely evening, and catch you up sometime. Bye.